Hello guys, welcome back to Fall Into Tech. So in today's video, we have project 5. And today we are diving into one of the most important part of this cloud network project that I have been building, which is like testing connectivity, So in this project, we are going to verify basically that everything that we have built so far is actually working. So it's one thing to kind of set up your VPC, subnet, route table, and EC2 instance, but it is also another thing to make sure that they all can communicate as we expect them, right? So in today's project, we are going to cover this different aspect, which is first I'm going to show you how to connect to your public EC2 instance directly from your AWS management console. And second, we will test the connectivity between the public and the private EC2 to make sure that they can communicate between them. And this is very important key. That will help you understand exactly how traffic flows inside your VPC. And then third, we will test the VPC's connection to the internet. Just make sure that everything is properly configured and for external communication, And by the end of this project, you will know how to troubleshoot and validate connectivity in your AWS network. And, this is a very crucial skill for any cloud or DevOps professional. So basically, as you guys know, I'm learning as I'm going, so learn by doing. And this one will help us get, hands-on into very interesting part of this network project that we're building. Let's get it. All right, guys, as you guys can see, we are here in our AWS console, right? So now, this time around, it's going to be a little bit different, In this part of this project, instead of creating each compartment like what we used to do, like create a separate VPC, subnet, route table, and internet gateway, one by one. So I'm going to use a fast and more guided method, like where the VPC and more, which is like the VPC and more, which is like a setup that you have more option when you create that, okay? So this option is perfect when you want to when you want AWS to help you automatically like generate the basic networking infrastructure that you need. For example, you can just basically put the name and then it will definitely give you all the, the rest of the setup that you need, okay? And to do that, you want to come here where you say VPC here, or you can see, you already see the VPC, but you click on VPC. And then now we want to go ahead and then create VPC. Click on create VPC. And then now this time around, we want to come where it says VPC and more, okay? And then you click on VPC and more. As you can see right now, it already generated like our VPC and then how many subnet that we have, how many route tables, and also how many network connectivity that we need, like, and all of that fun stuff, okay? So now this method is not only faster, but it is great for like learning all the resources that come together, right? Especially like when you're doing, for example, when you're just getting like comfortable with the AWS console, right? I wanted to start with the basic one, which is give you more idea on exactly what you're building. And then this is more advanced, so like this one is faster, And then I still recommend building everything from what we used to do, just basically that will give, the better understanding on exactly how things work. But as soon as you feel comfortable with the console and then know how to build those, basically you can start here by building this, okay? So now, as you can see here, when you put the name of the project, it's going to change everything from the subnet, the route table that you have, the private and the public one, everything, okay? So now here, let's change the name. Let's do it FIT. Let me change it here. So it's going to be Fall Into Tech project. Okay, let's name it that way. All right, project. There you go. So as you can see here, now that we changed the name here, we have our VPC name here. And then also we have our subnet. You already generated automatic name for my subnet. And then the private one, we have the public subnet right here. You have a private subnet here. And then we have another public subnet here. And then the private one, when it comes to route table, it already give the name also. And then we have the public and then the private one, and when it comes to the network connection also. So basically this way is faster. So let's go ahead and start this project by building our VPC using this method, which is the VPC and more. All right, as now that we already give our project a name, so it's going to be Fall Into Tech project. And then now here the side of block, we can leave it as it is. We already talk about it. If you need more information about this or more explanation, you can go back to our previous project that we built from project 1 to, 4. We already did a lot of explanation about this. And then when it comes to the IPv6 side of block, we can use it as default. We can leave it as default. And then the tenancy also, we can leave it as default also. So here, when it comes to number of availability zone, we can leave it as 1 is fine. And the number of public subnet, we can use 1, as you can see. And then we have number of private subnet. We have the public, and then the private one is fine. We can leave it as it is. And from here, you want to click on customize subnet CIDR block. If you go back to our previous project, we're gonna stay with what we use. Okay, so it's gonna be this one right here, and then here we can change it up to, we did use 10, let's see, 0.1.0 and then plus 24. Okay, this is what we use in our last project, so we can keep with that one. And then here, the net gateway here, we can leave it, we can choose the none right here, because this one is paid one. As you can see, the $sign here. So you have to pay for the service right here. We don't need it anyway. So the VPC endpoint also, we can use none. We don't need that one. Okay, so let's double check, make sure that we have everything that we need. Here we have our private and public subnet. Our VPCs right here, we have our private and public subnet. We have also our private and public route table, and we have our internet gateway. Everything looks good. Okay, so now we can go ahead, and as you click on create VPC, you can see the VPC is being created right now. So now our VPC is created. Now let's go ahead and click on view VPC, and then as you can see, we have our VPC right here. So let's go back to VPC here. There you go. We have our VPC here and it's running. Okay, so now let's move into the next step. We can rename our VPC here for IntoTech VPC. Okay, we can save that for IntoTech VPC, and let's go rename our subnet. So we have 2 subnet here. One is the private one, and then one is the public one. Let's see, let's rename this one as all IntoTech private. We can just name it private subnet. Okay, subnet private. Okay, that's good. And we can go ahead and rename our internet gateway. That's fine. And what else we have? Network ACL. As you can see here, we have this is our network ACL right here. So if you select it and then you come here and then click on here, it will give you our private subnet and our public subnet that is, connected to this network ACL right here. Okay, so now one thing about is like when you come here, you selected this network ACL, you can come here and then look the rules that we have. Our inbound, we have inbound rules, we have everything here. All traffic allowed, and then now when you go to outbound also, so we have the rules that we need so far. Have our private subnet, the connection inside is still internal connection. That's what we needed in the last project. That's what we built. So here we're going to create a new network ACL just for our private subnet. Okay, make sure that we can have the traffic stay inside of our private. So it is going to be internal. So now it's time to create a new network ACL that going to be dedicated only for our private subnet. And to do that, we want to come here, click on create network ACL. So we can name it as private. It's going to be private network ACL. Okay, and then now we're going to choose a VPC. We already have a VPC. You want to select this one right here, and then now you want to go ahead and then click on create subnet. So as you can see, we have our network ACL here, the private one. So now we want to associate it into our public subnet. So you want to select here, and when you select there, you want to open, before outbound subnet association. Okay, you open it and then come here where it says subnet association, and then you click on edit subnet association, and then you select the private one because we need to connect it with our private subnet. And as you can see, private one selected, and then you click on save changes. There you go. So now we have save the changes. As you can see, we have the traffic is going to be denied. Okay, all right, so now if you go back to our network ACL right here, we can rename this one as the public one, because the private network ACL is connected to our private subnet, and then as you can see here, the public subnet is not associated. It doesn't have the name, but we can come here and then name it as for IntoTech public network ACL. Okay, so save. There you go. So now we have the public one, and then we have the private one. Okay, just to make it more clear on exactly what we're dealing with. Okay. All right. Now that we are done with our network ACL, so we have the private and the public one. Everything is set up. So now we want to go ahead and set up our security group. Okay. So before we set up our security group, let's go ahead and then check exactly what we have in our security group. So if you click on security group right here, it will give you that we have default security group right here. And as you can see, we already talked about the default one and why AWS created default one, but there is one that is created with our VPC. Every time that you create a VPC, there is a default security group that is created just to make sure that your resources that you have there is already set up, right? But let's double check, make sure this VPC that we have, which security group is created for it as a default. Okay, so now if you check on, actually before checking here, you can basically click on the VPC ID here, and that will give you which one is located, which one is attached with our VPC that we created. Okay, so now let's check the first one right here. I'm pretty sure it has to be the first one or the second one, this default and here, but let's check this one. As you click here, there you go. So you see the first one already is attached to for into tech VPC. Okay, so that's the default that is created for us. Now let's go back here. Now with this security group right here, let's select it and then see exactly the rules that we have. As you can see, the inbound rules, it allow all traffic from all protocol from like all range, you know. And if you look at the outbound rules, basically same thing. So that's basically, this one is allowing everything coming in and out. So we don't need that, you know. So basically what we're going to do from here is we're going to create a new security group that we're going to set up however we want it. So we're going to do the configuration as like how we want it. So we're not going to use this one right here. So let's go ahead and then create a new security group. Okay, all right, now to create that security group, you want to go ahead and click on create security group right here, and then give it a name. The name can be fall into tech, let's see, public security group, public security group. Okay, so now the description here, we can give a description here, and the description can be a security group tech VPC. Okay, we can just give it that public server because we already have that. So for the public one, it's going to be public server. Okay, let's name it that. All right, and then now we can go ahead and choose our VPC, which is this one right here. That's what we need, fall into the VPC. Okay, and now we can go ahead and click on add inbound rules, and then the inbound rules gonna be HTTP. Let's go down here, HTTP. Okay, and then it has the port protocol is gonna be TCP, and then the port range is gonna be 80, and then the source right here we can change it to anywhere IPv4. Okay, anywhere IPv4. So we have that one done. Okay, we have set up the inbound rule however we want it. So now we can go ahead and click on create security group. Okay, and then now we have our new security group right here. All right, now we are done basically setting up our VPC. We have our route tables is there, subnet is there, internet gateway is done, network ACL is done, security group is done. So now let's move into the next step, which is we're going to create our public server into our private subnet, and also we're going to set up a public server into our public subnet, and then also create a private server inside of our private subnet. Okay, so that's next step that we have. Let's go. Right now we can go ahead here and type EC2. There you go. We have our EC2 here. You click on EC2, and as you are here, we want to go ahead and click on instances right here, and then let me refresh here, see what we got. Okay, no instance, we have no instance. So now we want to go ahead and click on launch instance right here, and then now, so this is going to be the first one. So the first one, the name will be FIT for Intech public server. Okay, that's the first one that we're gonna create right here. Now that we have our public server, fall into tech public server, that's the name. And then here the image we can leave as this one, the default one. We want to make sure we stay into the free tier right here. We don't want to pay anything, so make sure that you choose the free tier eligibility right here. And then as you can see the description, we don't have to change everything. And then now the T2 micro is fine, you know, make sure that also you are in the free tier right here. For the key pair, you can go ahead and then I'm going to choose the key pair that I created. And if you don't have a key pair, you can go ahead and create a key pair. It's very simple, you know. So now that we have our key pair here, so now the next step is we want to make sure that we have our network setup, which is very important. So now to do the proper setting, you want to come here and then click on edit setting, edit right? So you have that, and then also here we want to choose our VPC. We want to make sure that this EC2 instance that we're creating, this public server that we are creating, it is being set up inside of our VPC. So now when you come here, you click on this arrow right here, it's going to show you different VPCs that you have. Now we don't want to use the default one that AWS already created for us, so we want to choose this one right here. Now after you choose that one, you know, let's make sure that we have that. Okay, so now this is good. Now we want to enable this one because we want to make sure that everything that we have inside of our public subnet will be generating automatically will be generating IP. So we don't have to go ahead and set up manually like our IP address. Okay, so now we have that. And then we already create the security group. We want to choose, make sure that we choose that security group right here. So when you click on select existing security group, now you want to come here. And then this is the one that we need, which is the public fall into tech public security group. Okay, so now that's what we want to choose. And then now, so storage is fine. You fine with everything else. Everything looks good from here. Now what we want to do, we want to go ahead and then click on launch instance. Okay, and as you can see, our instance is launching right now. Boom, that one is done. If you go back here, you will see that refresh, and then there you go. We have our public server. Okay, so this one is set up into our public subnet. So now we want to go ahead and then create the second, which is going to be into our private subnet. Okay, now that we created the public server, let's go ahead and create a private one. So you want to come here, click on launch again, and then give it a name. So it's going to be FIT, see here, FIT private server. Okay, it's going to be private server. Yes, IT private server is good. And then now here we can choose, we're going to leave it as default again. We don't have to change that. And then key pair, we can choose a key pair that we have. Okay, so we choose that key pair right here. And then now we want to go ahead and then edit our network setting again. So now you want to make sure that you know, this private one is sitting inside of the VPC that you created. We select the VPC, and then we don't have to enable the auto assign public IP because we don't really need, you know, these resources that we have inside of the private one to be out there. People know much about it, so we're gonna leave it as default. And then we're not gonna select a security group because we didn't create any security group for this instance. So now we're gonna just create a new one here, and then the new one we can name it as FIT private let's see, private security group. Okay, FIT private security group is fine. FIT private security group is fine. And then we have that one done. And let's see, what else do we need? I think we got everything that we need here. Okay, this is one thing that I forgot. We have to give a description here. It's gonna be, let's see, security group or FIT private. My typing is so slow, I don't know why here. Let me see the description. Okay, FIT, well, let me give the description again. So it's gonna be a group of private server. Okay, to group FIT private server. Okay, or into tech private server. Okay, that's gonna be the description of this security group that we just created. All right, so now here for the SSH, we're gonna leave it as it is because we want to make sure that we allow remote access into our private server that we created. But here, when it comes to source type, this is basically giving access to anybody to have access to it. That we don't want that. We want to make sure that only the resources that have access into our private one is going to be the public one. So we have to change that. So you click on anywhere here, and then click on custom. And as in custom here, now you want to go ahead and then look for this one right here, the public security group, because we want to just allow our public server to have access into our private server. Okay, so now you click on that, and when you click on that, basically we have everything that we need here. So now we want to go ahead and then leave this as default, and then we're going to go ahead and click on launch. Okay, so now we can go ahead and launch our private. Now let's click on here, launch, and as you can see, our private server is being launched right here. There you go, give it a time, should be coming up soon, 80%. Okay, boom. So now let's go back into our instance here, see exactly what we have. You can refresh, and then we have to, so this is the private server, and then this is the public server right here, and they both running successfully. Okay, now let's go ahead and then jump right into the next steps. Now, before anything, there is one step that I almost forgot. I was using my other user. Okay, it was not the root one, it was IAM account, right? So now I went ahead and then logged back in with my root user because I want to come here where it say IAM. I want to make sure that we already allow that user to use what's called again, to use EC2 Instance Connect. Okay, and to do that, we're gonna come here where it say user right here. Click on user, and as you can see, this is the user that I was using. Okay, so now I want to make sure that, you know, I give them the opportunity to be able to use Connect, EC2 Instance Connect. Okay. Okay, now that I'm here, let me see. This is my current user. That's what I was building that project. Okay, so now I want to go to policy. Okay, now that I found it, it's right here. EC2 Instance Connect, okay? You want to make sure to go back, use your route account, the root account, and then enable this one right here. So you got to go here, select it, and then go action and attach to me, this is the IAM user, which is my different account that I'm using to build a project. And then let's do attach policy, okay? And click on attach policy here, and now it's done. Okay, so now I'm going back to my IAM user account to try again, see if that connect will work. All right. Okay, so now that we back here into our raw IAM user, so let's go ahead and try again because I already enabled the EC2 Instance Connect. Okay, so let's do the same thing again. Let's click here where you say connect, and then let's click here into our public server, and let's go ahead, click on connect, and let's try one more time, see if we're gonna connect this time, and go click on connect and give it a time, and let's see. Looks like we got something. Yes, well done, we got it. Definitely it's working. So yeah, now let me explain you guys what I end up doing. I end up going back to my root account, enable give it permission of my this IAM users account that I'm using, give it permission to be able to connect here. So this one is is working. So now we're here. It took me a long time, a lot of features, but yeah, we got it done. So let's go ahead and move into the next one. Okay, now that we already have our public, we already connected like subnet. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to ping our private server, see if the public server can ping the private subnet. Okay, that's what the private subnet, or either the private server, however you want to call it. Okay, so now to do that, we want to come here and then type ping. Let's see here, just give a second here. Hold on, let me refresh here, see what we got. All right, we want to type here ping, and then now we want to go back to our private. We selected the private server that we have here, and then now we want to come here and then choose, because we don't have the public IP. So now we want to connect it. We want to choose this private IP that we created here. We have here. Okay, so now you copy this one right here and then go back to this public server, and then now you can the private IP that you have. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to ping this IP right here. So now when you're pinging something, it means like you're sending data to that. So now what we're doing is like you taking data from your public server and try to send it to your private server. Okay, so now if it works, we'll see exactly how it is. So now let's go ahead and then type enter, and there you go. So as you can see here, it didn't go through. So now we know for a fact that our public server did send data from the public server to the private one. It sent it to this IP address right here. But after sending that data, this is the data that it sent, but it didn't receive any, there is no respond. Okay, there is no reply from it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and then troubleshoot exactly why we don't have the reply that we need. Okay, and one thing that I can add here is like, okay, basically ping something, when you try to talk to another server, you have to use the ICMP. Okay, so now when you're pinging, you're using the protocol that you're going to use is called ICMP, so which is like the Internet Control Messenger Protocol, right? And it's not like TCP or UDP, it's a little bit different. And so now this one right here, the ICMP, is like sending something through like the other public server or the private server and telling him, hey, are you up? And trying to understand exactly if that one is up, right? So now we did not allow that one here into our project. So what we want to do is we want to try to go ahead and then add new rules into our public and our private. Okay, make sure that they both have the ICMP. Okay, so now let's do that. All right, so now that we are here, let's go ahead. We need to go back into our VPC, and let's do that VPC and click on VPC. And as you are here in your VPC, you want to click on subnet. Let's double check our subnet. Okay, so let's start. How about we go with our network ACL? Oh, let's see the subnet. Let's see the inbound is not allowed anything. Let's see the outbound. And as you can see, the outbound and inbound, they both denying. Let me move a little bit so you can see they both denying traffic coming in and out. So we need to change that first before we move forward anything. We want to make sure that traffic can come in and out in our private. That's what we said before because it's private. But now we want to allow traffic coming from our public server and then going to our private server. Okay, all right, to edit that, what you want to do, you want to come here and then click here where you say private network right here, and when you click that, it should let's see, should open up. Okay, so now that is open, now you want to come here and select the private network ACL that you have, and you can go to inbound rules, and then now you can click on edit inbound rules. Okay, and then now you can add a new rule. Okay, so now we're going to add a new rule here. All right. So here, what we want to do here, the rule number is going to be 100. And then now we want to allow our ICMP. So it's going to be, let's see, we need all ICMP. Okay. Let's see, all ICMP. Okay. IPv4. Okay. So now the source, we can leave it as like from anywhere. And then now let's go ahead and then save the changes. You want to click on save changes, and that one is good. And then now that was the inbound. Let's double check, make sure. Okay. We have the inbound ICMP is allowing traffic. Okay, now let's look at the outbound. Mean like we can have traffic leaving our private subnet, our private server, and going out. So here, same thing. Let's click on edit bound, and then let's add a new rule, and it's gonna be 100 again. And then here we can choose all ICMP, IPv4, and then the source we can leave it as like anywhere, and then let's save changes. Okay, so we make sure that we have those changes saved. Okay, now that we are done with the network, let's double check our security group, make sure that we have all the rules that we need there. Okay, so now you click on security group here, and let's double check our private one and check our public one, make sure that we have all the rules that we need there. Okay, so now let's start with private security group that we have right here. So let's select the private one here, and as you select, let's check the inbound. So we're missing one rule, so the ICMP is not allowed here. So now we want to make sure that we add that rule. So let's go ahead and click on edit. Let's add a rule here, and it's gonna be from all ICMP, IPv4, and then here we can choose our private security group here. Okay, so let's click on private security group, and that one is done. And let's see here. So here, instead of the private, it should be the public. It should be the public. Okay, let's double check. It should be the public. Okay, the public security group right here instead of the private. Okay, so it's gonna be the public. All right, let's choose the public one. So we allow all a ICMP, IPv4, and then the source is gonna be coming from our public, because we want to make sure that the public is communicating with the private. Okay, so let's go ahead and then save rules if we have connection. Okay, let's go back to our EC2 instance here and one again. Now let's go back here into our public server, and then let's ping. Let's do ping. Let's make sure that we have the ping here. Give it a second. I don't know why it's not coming. Let's refresh here a little bit. Establishing connection. Okay, so we have the ping. So now let's see here our IP that we have from our private, and from there let's do enter. There you go. Now we have connection. It's working. So now we did send data from our public server to our private server, as you can see here. Now after we send that data, we can see that that private server responded with also data right here, as you can see, ICMP right here. So this is the data going, and this is the data coming right here. That was successful. That's what we needed here. Okay, so now this step is done. Let's move into the next step. Now this is the reason why we did this project, because we're trying to test the connection between the server that we have, you know. So now the connection, so far everything is working perfect. We add the rules that we needed, and then the connection is going how it's supposed to be. So we're good so far. All right, so now in the last step, we are going to figure out if our EC2 instance can get connection, take a connection outside of our subnet that we have. Okay, so now basically we did try the ping one, and the ping was working perfectly. So now what we're going to do, we're going to use curl. Okay, so for example, the first one we're going to run is going to be curl example.com. So curl is just basically a tool that make like real HTTP requests. So this is basically asking, can my instance reach out the website on the internet, like outside? Okay, so when I run it, you can see that it will get back with an HTML of the example.com page. Okay, that means like the HTTP and the HTTPS traffic is working correctly. Okay, so now let's try that. So let's come here, and we're gonna run example.com. So if it works, we should have a HTML page that come back. There you go. So as you can see here, so you see the HTML page, it came back here. So now basically it means like our instance is working, so we can have, we can reach the internet outside. Okay, so now the most important thing here is like my private subnet doesn't have a direct internet gateway inside. It uses like NAT gateway, which we didn't really touch. Because you have to pay to get through that. Okay, so that we're gonna leave as it is. Okay. All right, so I will end this project here. So this is basically what we did on this project. This is project 5. We did test the connectivity between our two servers. It comes fine. And then now we did test the connectivity from our server living outside, for example, using curl.com. And then this is what we have right here. So basically we're gonna end this project here, and then I can't wait to see you guys into project 6. Okay, thank you guys for following what I'm doing right now. And if you guys have any question, feel free to, I just said, if you have any confusion going on, just feel free to go back and watch our previous project we started project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is 5. Inside this is the 5. Okay, I'm gonna see you guys into the next one.